Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Archviz Africa. My name is Dixon from AAA Studio. Today we'll be continuing the 3-part series that we started last week using D5 render to create this image. If you missed last week's tutorials, I'll leave a link below. Let's dive right into it. So last week we had a look at how to import your model from Revit to D5, how to set up your lighting, how to add materials, as well as adding vegetation. So as I mentioned earlier on, if you missed last week's tutorial, I'll leave a link below. So today we will have a look at how to import objects like furniture into D5 render. So if you go to the assets, in assets there are materials, there are models and particles, and here are some models here, but we are going to add our own models, which I've downloaded from the 3D warehouse in SketchUp. So, and it doesn't necessarily only have to be in SketchUp. If you have models in 3ds Max, you can bring it in from Revit, you can bring it in as well. So we'll have a look at that. And then we will also tweak the materials a little bit and do our final render. So how do we import materials into objects into D5 render? We do that by making sure that we are on the list button here. And then here you see we have scene. So everything that is in this scene is here. You have your layers, basically like layers. So for example, if I turn off this layer, it basically turn off the model. Okay, so you can actually turn off layers, if you have trees and things that you don't need in a certain scene, you can basically switch them off, which is quite nice. So here you see I switch off that tree. Okay, so in this same panel you have an icon here, imported. So if I click on imported, you see I don't have any objects that I've imported. So now let's click on the plus button and let's go to where we have our model. So we've got different models. These are models that I've downloaded from 3D warehouse, SketchUp 3D warehouse. So we're going to look for a model. We're going to take the furniture for the living room. So we click on this and then we just say open. And then you see it will start loading. At the moment it's on 0. It will start loading. And it's quite fast. So you see it's done. And you just click on this sign here. And then it loads. So now there you have your furniture. So let's just scroll and then just position it. And once you've positioned it, you can basically rotate it. Okay, you can rotate it. And with the rotate, you can either rotate it the way I did, or you can also rotate it here by inputting a figure. So you can say you want to rotate it minus 90 degrees. So if I say 90 degrees, for example, it takes me there. If I say minus 90, it takes me there as well. Okay, so let's go back to our shot. Okay, so we've got our model in. So once you have that model, you can apply materials to the model because each of them has their own components. So if I go back to assets and I go to materials, let's say for example I go to leather, I can pick a leather, so I pick that leather and I can apply it to my couch basically. So there I apply it to my couch. I can change the properties of it. Okay, so there you see you've got your leather looking quite nice. You can work on the scale of it as well. Okay, so if I go to fabric, I can pick different fabric and begin to apply it to the pillows. Okay, so once you apply any material, you can change the scale as well. There you go, you can change that. So play with the materials, play with how you bring in materials, and yeah, you get to explore a lot of different materials, a lot of ways of applying, and quite helpful. We're not going to really detail that material or that asset there because it's quite far from the shot, and so I'm not really going to pay much attention to it. But it depends on what you are creating. You can basically add a lot of materials or a lot of detail to it. So let's add the carpet. Let's add materials to the carpet. So I'm gonna add material to the carpet. Let's see our reference image. So our reference image is this is our reference image. Okay, and then the tabletop. Let's add some woody material. Say it's wood. Gonna add that to that. Change the scale. Okay, so you can basically, or even the material that came already. So if this material is the same material that you need, you can just work on the scale of it. You know, you can work on the scale of it as well. Okay. Looking quite nice. We can add maybe some kind of a ceramic, you know, to our flower vase there. I would normally, if this was a close shot, I would not import this flower from 3D warehouse. I would just have the vase as empty, and then I'll add my flower in D5 because it's more real. It looks more real there. So that is what I would do if I was basically if this was a close shot, you know. So these are things that you begin to think about depending on the angle, depending on the closeness of your camera or your shot, you know. Okay, so let's go there again to the same to the scene, and let's add some light in here. I think in our reference image we have some light, even though it's not that visible because it's a bit far. We can add some light in there. So there we can add a point light, or we can add a spotlight. So let's add like a point light in there, and you have the properties of the light, so you can change the brightness of the light. You see, you can go to color, and you can change the color of the light as well. We're not going to add a lot to the lights because it's quite far. It's not really what our attention is on in the shot. Okay, So let's go to again to import, and this time around we're going to import the furniture for the pool area. Okay, so let's look. Okay, actually there's the diner one, so let's just pick up the diner one first, and then it loads. Just click there, and there you go, you have your furniture there. Simple, very simple. Okay, again let's go to our reference image and let's see if there was anything that was changed there. So basically it's the material of the table. So let's go to assets, let's go to wood, and let's add a wood material to our dining table there, and we're going to add some lights in here, so some spotlights in there, and then in here as well. Again, if this was a close shot, I was not going to add this flowers here, because I would like to have a detailed flowers, you know, quite a detailed plant, or if you know, so it's better to I would have rather taken that out in SketchUp and then basically just kind of have a flower by going to assets, going to model, going to flower, and basically having maybe one of these in the flower pot. So that's what I mean. So imagine if we didn't have that flower in there, we could then take a flower from here and then just kind of have it in the flower pot. Okay, but because this is not like a very close shot, it doesn't really matter. Okay, let's go back to our camera. Okay, and this time around again import. This time around we're going to bring in the pool furniture. Where do we have it? Let's look for it. Let's see the reference image. Yes, I think it's this one. So let's put it in. Okay, and there you go. We've got our pool furniture there. And here we will have to kind of work on the materials a bit, because the materials that it came with is not good, and also because our shot is closer to that, so it's important. So let's go to materials, let's go to metal, looking for like a stainless steel. Let's add that to that. See our reference image. Actually, in our reference image, I think it was a black metal that was used, not a stainless steel. So we're just going to add that. Okay, and then we're going to add some fabric to the umbrella. Okay, quite simple to add as well. Let's close that. Let's have a look at our reference image again. Okay, assets, and let's add material to the pillows or the cushions that we have there. Change the scale of them. Okay, quite big. Change the scale. See what we're getting. This material looks quite good, so I'm not going to really do much to it. Just going to work on the scale a bit. Let's go to our camera. I always kind of go to the camera to have a look and see if I'm capturing what I want to capture. Okay, so I'm going to copy this material and then I'll add it there. Okay, and now copy this material here, which is like the string. I'll copy it and I'll add it to this one. Okay, so there, it's coming along quite nicely. Okay, so it looks like our furniture is hanging. Okay, so we just click on it and then we just basically bring it down to touch the surface of the wooden deck. Okay, okay, there you go. Okay, so now we're going to add the exterior light, the light fixtures. So again, the import, and then we'll go into our models that we have from SketchUp. Quite quick, and there you go. We just import it there. I'm going to move this down so that it kind of flashes with the deck. So it's just gonna go down like that. Okay, again our reference image, so we're going down like that, just like our reference image there. Okay, so now we can go to edit and we can duplicate this light fixture. So if you duplicate it, we have it, we can put it here, and we can also bring this down. Okay, so we've got our lights, you can see, and then what we're going to do is actually bring in our lights, you know. So if I go to assets, I'm going to make this glass almost like a light. So I'm going to turn this the glass here into a luminous object. So if I go to other, you see this is a self illumination material. So if I click that, I can apply it to the glass, and then if I click on the properties of that material and I go to maps, I can say to that material that it should be emissive, which means that it should give light. Okay, so you can see now is giving light, you know, which is very nice to have. Okay, so I'm going to click on that property. I'm going to copy that property and I'll add that property to that. There you go. Okay, quite simple. We can reduce that light, but we will kind of work on the lighting intensity as we go on, depending on how the darkness of our scene and all those kind of things. Okay, so let's reduce it a little bit. We can also give it a color, so we can tell the material to give it a certain color, the color that gives out, you know, to give it a certain color. So if you go to maps, we can tell D5 that we don't want it to be white, so we can change the color that comes out. You can see here now it's getting, it's like bluish, because that's what we're saying that D5 should do, you know. Let's undo that, because that's not what we're planning to do. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back to import, and this time around we're going to bring in a ceiling light. So you click on that, and then we bring in our ceiling light. We have it there. There you go. Let's see our reference image. We have 2 of them. So let's move this somewhere there. Let's go edit, duplicate, or Control D to duplicate it. And you've got your lights there. Let's go to our camera view. Let's check our reference image to see, are we creating the same image. So this light needs to go a little bit this way, and there you have our light. Okay, so again, the same process. We can add a material to the light so that this becomes emissive. It begins to give light. Okay, so let's do that by just copying this property there and basically adding it there. Okay, simple, brilliant, nice and simple to do. Okay, so what we're going to do next, actually we need to add some light in the kitchen area there. So let's go to our kitchen. Oh, here we have grass coming out, but we can delete it. So I'll show you how to delete that quickly. So if you go to assets, and then we go to grass, and instead of picking the paint tool, we pick the erase tool, and then we choose which radius. We select our grass. Let's reduce the radius so that we don't delete too many things or too much of it. And then now when you click, it deletes, basically. Quite simple. So let's increase the radius a bit. There, so it's gone. Okay, so we wanted to add a strip light, so just to add like a strip light underneath the kitchen cabinet, so we can increase the y-axis or the x-axis, you know, that gives you the length, you can see. And we can, it also kind of add to the intensity, so you can see, and we can increase it. Let's go back there. Okay, there you go. Let's add some light in the room, just in the room. So we're going to add some rectangular light in the room. Just bring it a bit down, because you don't want it to go into the slab, so you just bring it down. Let's increase the brightness. Let's go to color and change the temperature a bit. So if I go in here, you kind of have that look, you know, or that feel. But in terms of our reference image, we actually don't have that look. So let's just reduce the brightness. Let's change the temperature to 6500 and then have a look. You see, it's not really a warm light. Okay, so you've got that. So the next thing that we'll be doing is that we will go to the filter. And the reason why we're going to filter is that we're going to basically work a little bit with our post render, and we're going to work on that because we want to tone down the intensity of our background lighting, the HDRI, and also the exposure. So we want to reduce our exposure, so we're going to go a little bit down. So you can see when we adjust the exposure, it begins to give us the look of how the reference image look like. Okay, so we're going to reduce our exposure, and immediately we reduce the exposure, it actually tells you whether your artificial lighting that you bring in is enough. So do we need to increase our lighting? It basically gives, because it's giving us almost like a night scene, you know, so then you need more light. Okay, so here we can increase the brightness of the lights that we have in the scene, like that. Let's go to the room. Let's select the light, and I'm going to go back with the light selected, go back to my view, and then I'll increase the brightness of the light. Okay, quite nice and very simple. Okay, so let's increase the lights, this light as well, the intensity of those lights. Okay, as well as the intensity of the lights in here. I like to go back to the view so that I know what that light is doing in the scene as well. Okay, so we do that. Select this light, go back to my camera, increase the brightness as well. Okay. I think in the reference image there's like a strip light here. So let's add a strip light. So if we add a light here, and then we increase the y-axis, and then we reduce the x-axis, also increase the brightness, go back to our camera, and we're beginning to have the image that we are looking for. Okay, so again, let's look at our reference image again, and you can see in the reference image the intensity of the light here is quite high. So let's kind of add some lights in the interior scene. So we're going to add some lights in there. These are rectangular lights as our primary lights. Normally you would want to have a light fixture that you place this light in, because lights do not just illuminate themselves, like they are in a kind of a fixture, a light fitting basically. Okay. Create some light in here as well. Increase the brightness of the light as well. Actually, we could also take one of these lights. So let's just duplicate one of these lights and just position it there. Okay. So we're beginning to have a light there. Okay. So the next step will be to create the lights in the pool. So we're going to do that also by importing light fixtures. So again, I have a light that I downloaded from SketchUp 3D warehouse, and then I'm just going to position that light here in my pool, and I can basically again rotate that model. So if I want to rotate it, I can select the rotate line, which is when you select it, it's highlighted, you see. So I can just rotate it, and as you're rotating, you can see which axis is rotating. So now if I want to say minus, so basically minus 180, and I enter, I know that it rotates exactly how I want it to be. Okay. So this light also, what I did was just to add a material to it. So if I go to material, I go to other self-illumination material, and I just apply it to the glass, and then I just change the properties of the light. I believe there's definitely another way that you can create that light. It's definitely not one way to create this kind of effect or these lights. But yeah, that's the process that I took. So I'm going to basically copy the light. So I'm going to move it a little bit down. I'm going to put it somewhere here, and then I'll just duplicate it there, edit, duplicate, and just position it there. Okay, so there I've got my lights, and I can group the lights. So let me just show you quickly what I mean. I can group the light. Let me duplicate this again to the far end there. So now if I press Control, I can select multiple objects. So I've selected that one, I've selected this one, and I can select this one as well by pressing Control, select, pressing Control, select. So now I've selected all the lights that I have in, and if I go to edit, I can just say group. So now these lights are together, they are one. And the reason why I'm grouping them is that Then I can just go edit, duplicate, and I can just move one set of this light to the other wall. So I can just basically bring this light here, which if I go to the camera view, I can also go to top view as well. And then in the top view, I can see where I'm positioning these lights. So I can just basically move these lights to the wall, okay, so that I know exactly where I'm positioning. Let's go back to our camera. And there you have your lights in your pool. So we have successfully been able to bring in our objects, which is our furniture, our light fixtures. We have added some artificial lighting, and so we will end our tutorial here for today. And in our next tutorial, we will basically do the touch-ups in terms of our post-render, and click our final render button to just create our image and get these results that we are looking for. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. See you next week. Bye.